Let's talk about some Joe Jacoby. And welcome back to another video here on the Washington Football Maniacs YouTube podcast channel. I am your host, Greg Sykes, and this channel, of course, is dedicated to news and commentary for the Washington Commanders. If you're down with that, please make sure that you have subscribed to this channel. When you do, also make sure you hit that notification bell so you won't miss any other video releases. Before we get into today's episode, let's talk about something that we all have to do from time to time, and that is sacrifice. That's financial sacrifice, not actual sacrifice, but from biblical proportions. But financial sacrifice. Sometimes we have to sacrifice because we're trying to make that almighty dollar stretch as far as it can possibly go. Well, our friends here at Mint Mobile, they want to help you out so you don't have to sacrifice as much.
Look, if your family is anything like mine, you have probably at one point or another have had to make some major sacrifices. Maybe you've had an unexpected medical bill pop up, or your car breaks down. Maybe you're just trying to have some money saved up for your child's education. Well, that is why I'm so intrigued by Mint Mobile, who this video is in partnership with. They offer premium wireless starting at $15 a month. I could get high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. I could even bring my phone along with my current phone number, contacts. I'm telling you, I am sacrificing absolutely nothing. Everything that you can do with your big-time cell phone service, you can do with Mint Mobile. So how hard is it to switch your service? I switched to Mint Mobile in less than 15 minutes. How did I do it? Well, it was easy. I just used my phone's eSIM card. 15 minutes later, let me tell you, you are up and running. You're making phone calls, you're using data. But Greg, my phone is a little bit older. I don't have one of them eSIM doohickeys. A doohickey. Oh, okay. Well, you don't need an eSIM doohickey. If you don't have an eSIM doohickey, Mint Mobile will send you a physical SIM card for free. That's right, for free. So if you want to save a little money on your wireless without making any sacrifices, why don't you go to my link in the description below. It is trymintmobile.com/maniacs to get started on getting premium wireless service for as low as $15 a month. And this is when you sign up for a 3-month plan. And get this, new customers, if you sign up for a Mint Mobile plan before May 31st, you will get a 6-month subscription to Paramount Plus Essential on Mint Mobile. Visit Mint Mobile today. Link will be in the description below. Now back to the podcast.
It's true, folks. The 1980s Washington Redskins had some of the biggest guys in professional sports. We covered in our past episodes guys like Dave Butts, rest in peace, Dave, who was like 6'8", 300 pounds. And Joe Jacoby, man, that dude, about the size of Dave Butts. So if Dave Butts was the anchor on the defensive line, Joe Jacoby was the anchor on the offensive line. And Joe Jacoby was one of the guys who was responsible for opening up huge, massive holes for our running backs, for making guys like John Riggins look really good. I mean, probably the reason why John Riggins has a Hall of Fame blazer, and why it is such a travesty that Joe Jacoby has not been nominated as a Hall of Famer. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. But Joe Jacoby, I mean, here's a guy who was not drafted. He signed with the Washington Redskins as a free agent coming out of college. He went to college at Louisville. This was in 1981. Signed with the Redskins, undrafted, and he stayed with the Redskins his entire career. So this is another thing I loved about Joe Jacoby. All of his career, he stayed with one team, and he was not going to be one of those that, well, I'm going to dip my toe in free agency. Actually, the modern age of free agency probably started maybe a year or two. It may have started the last year that he played football, and I think by that point he was pretty much done. He already went 4 Super Bowls, so I think he was pretty much done at that point anyway. But he signed a free agent contract with the Redskins '81, where he would embark on an inevitable career. 4 Super Bowl appearances in which he won 3 of them. 4 consecutive Pro Bowl selections from '83 to '86. Along with Jeff Bostic, Mark May, George Stark, and Russ Grimm, Joe Jacoby was a founding member of the Redskins' renowned Hogs offensive line of the 1980s and early 90s, deemed one of the best front fives of NFL history, which was a mainstay of the Redskins' glory years during the first Joe Gibbs era. Jacoby was the lead blocker on John Riggins' famous touchdown run, which ensued the Redskins' Super Bowl 17 win over the Miami Dolphins. In that game, the Redskins set a Super Bowl record for most rushing yards with 276. The Hogs helped the Redskins break the record 5 years later in Super Bowl 22, in which Washington trampled over the Denver Broncos with 280 rushing yards en route to the second of the Redskins' 3 championships. After 1 year after the Redskins' 3rd Super Bowl victory in 1992, Joe Jacoby retired, after which he became the owner of an auto dealership in Warrenton, Virginia. Jacoby became an assistant football coach at Shenandoah University in Winchester, Virginia. He became, as a part-time volunteer in 2008, and was hired as a full-time employee in 2009. In 2014, Jacoby was hired as offensive line coach for the Concordia University of Chicago. And Jacoby and his wife Irene have 2 daughters. So there it is. I mean, 4-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first-team All-Pro at 83, 84, 87. Of course, 3-time Super Bowl champion. NFL 1980s All-Decade Team. Of course, he's in the Redskins Ring of Fame. So, I tell you, Joe Jacoby, how many of you would agree with me to say that he should be in the Hall of Fame? He's been nominated as a finalist several times, but he has not been one that has actually been able to actually get in to be nominated in to the Hall of Fame. And this has happened with Art Monk several times. He has got to be able to get in. We have got to be able to get him in somehow. I don't know how, but he's got to be able to get in. Of course, like the 70 chip, he was lead blocker in on that famous 4th and 1 run of John Riggins in that Super Bowl run. And it was just amazing, such a huge guy. And, this goes to kind of show you, too, the physicality that these offensive linemen need to have. And it's also amazing that such physicality that this guy had, and he went undrafted. in the draft that year, and how successful that he became in the NFL, and how little sometimes that um, you know talent evaluators have when it comes to evaluating some of these college players, that are coming into the NFL. And I tell you, also, shows how little, of course, us podcasters know as well. I've even said it here. It's like, we are so thin on the offensive line, especially at the left tackle position coming into the season, and it seems that way. But it's just because we don't know what we have. I don't know what we have. I haven't seen it yet. We may have a future, um, you know, Pro Bowler on our hands, and who we've got now. I I don't know. I hope we do. Um, and this goes to show you that uh, you've got to have the talent evaluators. This also goes to show you how great of a talent evaluator that Bobby Beathard was. Again, he was able to get those diamonds in the rough, those guys who really shined. The ones who came out of the latter rounds, or the ones who just went undrafted. He found um, he found talent, in these individuals, and he made it work. And then you had the coaches, the position coaches, Joe Bugle, who made it all work as well. Putting these guys together and coaching these guys up. It wasn't all Joe Gibbs, right? But ultimately Joe Gibbs. And just really, you know, again, the physicality of these players. Joe Jacoby, if he's the final piece, is him getting into the Hall of Fame. From a humble beginning of coming into the NFL being undrafted, and then ending up being in the Hall of Fame. That's the final piece in all this. I mean, so much that he's accomplished in his professional career, and to have that would be just the cherry on top. And he needs it. He really needs it. I hope a lot of you agree with me on that as well. And I mean, if you don't, then that's fine. I mean, you certainly have your opinions, just like I do. But I don't see how anybody could disagree with this. Joe Jacoby was a monster. I mean, just like how I talked about how I saw Dave Butts just swallow guys up on tackles. It's the same way with Joe Jacoby. Like he would just take up double teams and just like swallow up guys on that defensive line and create running lanes for the running backs, pass protection, things like that. Like I mean, quarterbacks didn't get pressured, and that was the other thing too. That's how that Joe Gibbs was able to bring in three different quarterbacks to win Super Bowls, was that those quarterbacks had time. They didn't get pressured very often. And it was because of guys like Joe Jacoby. They were so big and versatile. They were able to protect. Then you had guys like, Russ Grimm in there as well, Mark May. Jeff Bostic was solid in his career. He did have some rough issues there in 1987. You can go back and watch some specials on that. But once he kind of figured it out, then I mean that was a great offensive line, and it really all started with that anchor, Joe Jacoby, and he remained solid up until that last Super Bowl year as well. As last thing that I remember, and again, some Maddenisms, is that you know, John Madden would talk about how Joe Jacoby would sweat through anything, and it's funny. It's like, yeah, talk about how like Joe Jacoby would sweat through that jersey. Um, you know, I mean, yeah, that dude would sweat like a stuck pig. um, but yeah, man, he was great. He was great. Um, that's what we need. We need some huge hogs like that. It'll be interesting to see with the style of offense that we have, and that how that protection is going to be up front. It's going to be a little bit different, of course, than what the Hogs had, um, and maybe we're going to need a little bit more of an athletic front. But um, let's hope that we have some Joe Jacobys in the making. Maybe we will. I'm going to be optimistic on that. But overall, man, I tell you, there will never be another Joe Jacoby like that. He was fantastic. You know, Trent Williams, of course, another fantastic guy. Um, you know, going to be a Hall of Famer definitely. But if you didn't get a chance to see Joe Jacoby play, you missed it, because he almost never got bullied around. He almost never gave up the sack. Um, and Joe Jacoby, he always had that blind side covered, and he was a fantastic player, really was. So again, he's just another guy that made that 1980s Washington Redskins team so successful, and just again, I'm just thankful I got to watch them play. Folks, hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, another great episode in this series of looking back on the 1980s Washington Redskins. If you're enjoying this series, then hey, give me a thumbs up. With that said, I will see you in the next series.